Charlie Powell was a heavyweight contender ranked after he knocked out Nino Valdez.
Willie Bean, next no down. This man right here, Joey Almost, and Benny Giordino. I hope that you guys had a wonderful turnout. We all love you, and we hope to be doing this again soon. Thank you very much.
Guy that should have been a champion, he'd be a champion today if he was fighting. Just a courageous, exciting guy, Frankie Borte. One of the premier referees, a veteran, and still a top guy working fights all over the world, Lou Moret. Right down here, the fellow with that great looking black hat on, had a few fights out here in LA back in the 40s and went back to New York, and he fought Jake LaMotta. That shows you how good he was, and he gave LaMotta a terrific fight, losing a very close decision, but had a great career. Buddy Odell. I don't want to forget our president of Golden State Boxers, president for life. He's been on the unavailable list for a few months, but he's back with us today, and he was an outstanding welterweight in the 50s, Hugh Sublett. A guy that knew all the ins and outs of the boxing game, and very well connected, but a great friend, and had all the sports writers at his bar, the Playroom, Tommy Tucker. Champion in the Air Force, won the Pan American Games, and had a successful boxing career, and an outstanding bail bondsman, Joey Durando. Is the youngest fella ever with the lightweight title, and he's doing a great job with the kids these days, Mondo Ramos. Next to Mondo is a guy that's just on a great comeback in life. Had a lot of setbacks. He was a great champion back in the 60s. He's a regular here with the Golden State Boxers, Raul Rojas. With Raul is a guy that's doing a marvelous job helping Raul is Gil Ortega, who is a fighter for Jackie McCoy. He retired as a captain in charge of the Holonet division, the boxing division, landing fighters, and is very active today, Rudy DeLeon. The greatest woman referee we've ever had, Linda Dare. That's rugby referee too. Maybe you can go down there. Also, our resident physician today, Dr. James Dennis, another top referee. And he fought as Charles and Harold Johnson, so many top fighters. If he was active today, certainly he'd be a champion. He'd be making all those millions. Paul Andrews. One of the founding fathers of the World Boxing Hall of Fame, and a very great manager, honest guy, and loved his fighters. They loved him, Charlie Cassis. Where's Bobby Chicago? Is he here? Bobby!
I covered boxing when we had boxing writers, and we had weekly fight clubs, and we had 5 metropolitan papers, and we had the Hollywood Legion Stadium going every week, and the Olympic Auditorium going every week, and it was amazing for a manager to even get one of his prospects into a 4-round fight there. we didn't have cable TV. We didn't have the purses they have now. A guy like Willie Bean would be making $10 million a fight probably on closed circuit or on cable. Anyway, I want to introduce Vince Delgado. Yay, Vince. He defeated Jimmy Roybal, Ernesto Parra, Alfredo Escobar. I covered all these fights. You didn't write this down. I also covered his fight the championship with Davey Moore, but there's no sense bringing that up much longer. Davey Moore, I thought at the time, was the greatest featherweight I'd ever seen. But Vince did become one of our top referees and judges, and been doing that for years and still doing. Vince, will you come up here and say hello to the people? Georgino, will you wave your hand at everybody while he's on his way up here? Pat Georgino might have been the greatest bartender ever.
I want to thank everybody who came down and appreciate everything, the honor. My wife, my kids, my managers, Bob Martin and Jerry Roth, and Jim Kim, and let me see, who else? My daughter Janet came all the way from Napa. My two sons, Chris and Mark, and my sparring partner, Selma Delgado, and Jones, Benny, known him for a long time. Thank you.
Willie Bean, as Don Frazier was saying here at the table in confidence, he still has a pretty good body, but had the most beautiful body ever seen in a ring at the time. I saw him stop Turkey Thompson. Probably beat a lot of great fighters. Young Jack Johnson at his best. But the fight that I remember the best, Willie was also, and used to take pride in those things in the 40s and 50s, the state championships and the Pacific Coast championships, they meant something. They were hard to come by. But my favorite fight of all time of Willie's was with Dale Hall. Yeah. Is Jimmy Gambino still here?
Yeah, right here.
Okay. Because Jimmy's dad, Ralph, one of the great managers, the late Ralph Gambino, Dale Hall used to live it up a little bit. And a Tuesday night, before a Saturday night fight with Willie, he was picked up in a bar, a little out of control, and they gave him a few sticks in the ribs and the kidney, and he had a very sore midsection. And Ralph Gambino didn't want to call it the fighter postponement. He promised Dale Hall that Willie wouldn't hit him in the midsection. We're at the Pirates of the Legion. The first shot in the first round was a tremendous shot to the midsection. Nobody told Willie. He didn't know he was supposed to not. Anyway, Dale Hall got a little hysterical. I think he just left the bar again. Dale Hall was one of my personal favorites. We're not related, needless to say. But he ended up going to Camarillo after that fight. And I got one of the great interviews I ever had. He loved Willie. He thought Willie was a tremendous fighter, as Willie was all through his career. I think that's enough to say about you, Bean. You were a great fighter and a great person. And Willie Bean, the heavyweight champion.
That's for Willie Bean.
What is this?
Inside.
Has it been inspected?
I saw him fight in 1941 at a make-up backyard. No, this was before amateur even. And he was fighting this policeman from Newton. The guy had built the ring. Willie hit him in the head. The guy went down. He runs into this house and comes out with his gun. 45.
It's Willie Bean, heavyweight champion.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, this is my fight revenue over here. The Gambino.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy?
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody for showing today. And let's continue on with the program. I enjoy all of you, and I wish all of you health, wealth forever. Thank you.
Say this back.
Yeah.
Here, I'll hold that. We have a great jam. This is what they do so anyway. Oh. Where's the yacht?
Bring out these guys.
All right.
Front yard.
Hey! Thank you. Thanks for all the great years and all the great fights that we had. Great bar owner, great manager, 3 world champions. One of was lateral off by Howie Steiner, but Vinny Giorgino has since become one of the hottest promoters, I guess, in the country. Down in India and up there somewhere in Washington. What else to say, Don? Albert Davila, Jamie Garza, he managed. They had the great bars. In fact, you started Aragon, the bail bonds business, too. It saved us several lives. Always nice to sports writers. Always nice to washed-up fighters and big form fighters and everything. But one of the great characters, which he's ruined the thing, I see Pat took his jacket off. The Giorginos for years had a reputation to be out in the coldest weather in the winter. They never wore a jacket. No Giorgino ever wore a jacket. Always in short sleeves. On the coldest nights under the pepper trees out at Legion Stadium. Anyway, it's such a pleasure to see all the Giorginos here today. And Benny, particularly you, for guys next, the hero of the hour, a working promoter. I came up, I was in boxing though, when promoters, managers, and trainers, and matchmakers were all different people, not all the same person. Things have changed. It's hard to complain about what's happened when all the purses are so high and guys take a deep breath and get paid $1 million, that's hard to knock. But the fighters now, and I do sincerely believe, and the promoters too, not you, are not what they were. In the golden days of boxing in the 50s when they had to earn everything they did. But that's a backdoor way of saying Vinny Giorgino is one of the great characters in boxing through all the years, and it's nice that he's making matches now and promoting fights because boxing can use Vinny Giorgino anytime. Mr. Giorgino.
I want to thank everybody that's here today, whether I met you or not. I appreciate the fact that you are here because I know you love boxing. A lot of people here that I heard their names mentioned that I didn't even have a chance to talk to. I wish I could go around and just say hello to everybody. I want to thank Golden State Boxing Association for putting this together and put me in with a group as they did, as Joey Olmos, who for many years worked with the Boxing Commission, did a great job, helped a lot of young kids, helped managers, was very great guy. I just appreciate being a part of that. Willie Bean, who I think was a great heavyweight at the time, and today he would be making the millions and maybe championship of the world. I think he would knock guys like Tyson out in his time. Also Vince Delgado, when he first started, he was an outstanding prospect with Gig Rooney, and it was well known that he was going to do great things in boxing, which he did. Also become one of the top referees in the world today. I'm very proud to be a part of that group. I want to thank Don Fraser very much for working as hard as he did and putting this together. I know he's going through some rough times, especially today, and I want to tell him that we're all hoping with him that Ruth is going to be okay, and I know she will. Yeah. John Hall, go ahead, give him a hand. writers of all times. He's somebody you'll never forget because he could be talking to you for a couple hours without writing 2 words. The next day in the column, he'd have everything that you talked about. And that's the kind of writer he was. He was great. The greatest. Like Kennedy said, it's not what your country does for you, it's what you do for your country. It's not what boxing I've done for boxing, it's what boxing has done for me. Boxing has opened a lot of doors for me. It created a feeling of wanting to be a part of it from now until I'm gone. I'm very lucky to have gotten started in boxing. I don't want to go way back to when I started because a lot of things to tell, I don't have that much time. But I met a lot of great fighters, had 3 world champions, which very rarely see. Great champions, I had a great stable. The other day I was sitting thinking about the guys that I had, and to my mind came Frank Duarte, who was at the end of his career. And I talked to Frank and I said, Frank, I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 matches, then I'm going to get you a title match. You don't win, you walk away, okay? Okay. That all happened. I got him his matches, I got him a title fight, WBC. He put up a great fight, but he just wasn't the Frankie of 5 or 10 years before that time. And what happened today? There wasn't a seat in the house, only 1 seat open next to me and he got it. So I got my wish there too. Very nice. Also, I'm going to say that I got a lot of great promoters, great trainers, great fighters. I worked in the corner like Mondo Ramos, Palomino, with someone that I know you all know, and I wouldn't leave here today without mentioning his name. A great person, great manager, great fighter, a great trainer, a great cut man. He's all-time great. You all know him, you all love him. My buddy Jack McCall. Very lucky to meet him and become a partner of him. I worked in his corner, he's worked in my corner, and we were just like one person. I'm very thankful to have that in my memory. I just want to say a couple more things. I want to say that my wonderful wife, Ruth, the patience she has been real great, and she's a wonderful girl, and I really appreciate it. I do want to say that today. It's all great. Carmen, Pat, Don, the nephews, all great people, great guys. I want to say God bless boxing. May long live boxing. Amen. It's my life.
Before I give this microphone back to Don Crazy, and before it gets to be 2 o'clock, I would like to share one memory, at least with Mondo Ramos and Raul Rojas, since you mentioned Jackie McCoy's name. They were training at the Santa Ana Saddleback Hotel, or inn, or motel, or whatever it was, in the patio, around we set the ring up over the swimming pool. And I went to meet Jackie McCoy and interviewed the 2 fighters who were getting ready for a Coliseum doubleheader. And it's midway through the training season. I guess they have about 2 weeks left to go. And we're going to get a progress report on them. Watch them both spar briefly. And sitting at a patio table with the manager, McCoy. And they finished their workout and they said, excuse me, please, we'll go in and get a quick shower, put on a dry shirt. And I said, okay, we'll wait here in the patio. Both of them went out the back door. They were gone for 3 days. Nobody saw them for 3 days. McCoy and I didn't care. We went to the bar and had a drink ourselves, and they finally showed up in time for the fight anyway. There was a time when the Olympic was on low tide when Raul Rojas fought about 8 main events in 2 months there and carried the club and did a lot of things like that. I saw Bobby Chacon in his best moment, coming to ringside the sports arena when he knocked out Little Red Lopez in one of the great fights ever staged in Los Angeles. And Little Red, of course, went on from there. You do all kinds of great things, and so did Bobby. Anyway, it's such a pleasure for me to be back here today with people who still care about this sport and who make it something special, Benny, just like you said. And it's nice to see that many people still around. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
You know, you can know a person for many, many years, and if they're modest and they don't talk about themselves, you never really know the true story about them. And I've known Joey almost as long as I've been in boxing. And I was in the Army and in Korea, but I didn't get shot at. But I admire guys that were in the thick of it. Joey Olmos was 19 years old. He was a sergeant, staff sergeant, and he was in the 158th Regimental Combat Team, which was called the Bush Masters, and they were sent to recapture the Philippines. And those who were in the service or know about it, tough fighting over there, and of course the Japanese were fighting to the end. Joey commanded a machine gun squad, and they had those kamikaze attacks. They didn't care if they got killed. They would just storm, and he would, with his guys, had to fight them, hold them off. Anyway, Joe turned back several kamikaze attacks. As a result, Sergeant Joe Olmos was awarded the Purple Heart, and the Army fourth highest award, the Bronze Star, for gallantry. I'd like to call up my friend for many years, a great guy in boxing, a referee, Joey Olmos.
We were from the era when there was only 8 world champions. Think of it, 8 world champions. John says Willie Bean could have made millions of dollars. That's true, if there was still only 8 world champions. I saw Willie box exhibitions with Joe Louis, and he had Joe Louis in the rope a couple of times. I finally retired after the end of 12 years when I was refereeing this one particular fight, and the fighter went down, and I went over to give the count over him. And the guy says, "You're not being fair with me." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you came over and you said 5 and 5 is 10, you're out." And now as I look back, I think he was right. But talking about incidents and anecdotes in boxing, this is funny. Maybe the other one wasn't, but this was thank you, my supporter.
He was maybe 5, 10.
5 and 5 is 10, you're up. I think you'd like to hear about this particular night that I refereed at the Olympic. A regular ringsider showed up every week, older fellow, was pickpocketed. And the fights ended, and he came up to me and he said, "Joy, you know, I lost my wallet, I have no money, I can't get home. Could you lend me some bus fare?" I said, "Anytime." I gave him a $5 bill. He said, "That's too much. It's only $1. I'm going to take the 5. I said, "I have no change." He said, "I'll pay you next week." Remember, he was a regular. I said, "Anytime." So sure enough, I'm working as a referee the following week. And would you believe it? Between rounds, he calls me over to the ring and he tells me, "Joey, you're money," and he flashes the $5. And my God, I said, this guy's paying me off. The audience thinks that General MacArthur, if you remember, that part of that famous speech was, "Old soldiers never die, they just fade away." Well, I got something a little different, similar to that. And this is about the referees. Old referees never die, they just smell that way.
Thank you, Joe. Let's Another one of Joey Olmos's referee proteges, of course, is the best looking referee we've ever had. When Adair we introduced earlier. Anyway, folks, that concludes our luncheon today. We meet here every Tuesday. Golden State Boxers, open to everybody.